boosting by liking us on Facebook. And before we go further, let me just take you to the recap of our previous episodes. So we had our episode 1 on 28th of March where we discussed about the crisis which hotel industry is sailing through in the slowdown period, followed by our episode 2 on 1st of April where we discussed about redefining sustainability and some strategies being adopted to keep morals of our internal teams. Then we had our episode 3 on 7th of April, where we discussed the probable impact on workforce due to slowdown, followed by our episode 4 on 14th of April, where we discussed about the fixed operating expenses of every restaurant, which are very high, and what exactly they have to do in current scenario to cope up with the situations. Now let me welcome you all to the Slowdown episode 5. I would request Ms. Tarandeep Full to kindly introduce our guest speakers for the day.
Thank you, Dheeraj. We welcome our special panel for the day today. We welcome Rudolf L.D. Cook. He's from South Africa. He's a senior managing partner for C34 Collection. It's a hospitality industrial management service company which is offering many services under one roof, from culinary art to pricing to procurement to point of sales, SOPs, and inventory control system. We welcome you, Rudolf.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome. We also welcome Mr. Vivek Suri. He's a CEO of Kitchen Rama Food Service Limited, a veteran in hospitality sector with over almost 40 years of experience. In 2003, he set up his own company, Kitchen Rama, and one of the pioneers in India for commercial kitchen equipments. He helps in planning kitchens in hotels, restaurants, cinemas, and catering units. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. We also hereby welcome Mr. Pavit Pal Kohli. He's a founder, owner of Eco Drive, which is a 3-decade company, one-stop solution for all the binding, printing requirements. First accredited member of International Window Film Association USA from India. He promises 30% of reduction in the cost saving of energy by achieving green building standards. To name a founder of Black Swan Lab that works on innovative sciences, a lead Green Association certified professional and a qualified GRIHA evaluator. He's done a list of probable, the notable projects. To name a few, he has done the world's largest meditation center in Hyderabad on a different science. So all of them are welcome to, because the panel is very strong. We look forward to a lot of value add for all the participants who have been there. Thank you all. So I would request Rudolf to take this first topic before I go to sir. Rudolf, we just wanted to know, how can we handle the major operational costs of energy, water, and other costs in a better manner? The main objective is to reduce the costs from a hospitality perspective. Kindly throw some light from an international. Rudolf, over to you.
Oh, thank you. On the first point of saving costs and the energy, water as gas from international perspective, because safe water, we all shall install rubber tap savers, extremely cheap and time efficient to install. You can even do it yourself. We sprays water for the same amount that it would have been used, but it saves 60% of the water that you usually just run down your tap. By just implementing the correct tools, you will install the features in all guest rooms and public areas that the guest visits. You should also small, elegant notices just put up on the wall that you have in place the water-saving tools in the tap, so the guests don't find it strange when water comes out differently. And I promise you, 88% of the guests will be soothing and very interesting to find out what are you doing, why are you doing, and where are you doing it. The 3 W's, as we say. That is from a water perspective. Then also from a gas perspective, where we have in hotels, restaurants, we send the internal auditors to do a manual gas check and report the usage daily, weekly, and monthly. And by that, you cut down the cost by 64%. And I have seen it happen in the past at Grand West Casino as well, where a gas account of 150,000 rand cuts down to 82,000 rand just by not trusting the process and actually raising the awareness to save such factors. And those was all variable costs where you can easily save on your variable costs like telephone accounts, your gas accounts, your electricity, all of that. That is the quickest area where you can save onto that. As well, when we get to the food side of things, also you control your potential usage by costing correctly, implementing awareness in the kitchens for not over catering, and then you have a potential stock on hand to what you should have according to your recipe, and then your actual stock on hand, which is what you physically have available in your kitchens. And by that means you have almost a zero amount of variance.
That's wonderful, really.
And we all at C34 Collection, we all contribute to having the best out of to create a sustainable saving environment.
Lovely. So, what you actually communicated is that communication to the guests at every touch point is very, very important, because half the time we're not a guest. So, moment we start communicating to the guests, things are taken more seriously, and they also join you in saving the cost. That's what you said, right?
Yes, that is correct from a water and energy saving point of view. And also for the guests in your hotel to realize that you are actually contributing to the health and to the landscaping, the green factor of our country. It's not very much many hotels actually pays attention.
Right. Any participant has any question for Rolf? May please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Vikas. I think Rodolfo gives some fantastic ideas to reduce consumption. However, I like to take it forward in a kitchen perspective. In today's world, you have a lot of kitchen equipment available, which are so-called green kitchen equipment, which saves a hell of a lot of water and electricity consumption when it comes to the cooking side of the kitchen.
So probably your taking your just coming. Then
all right.
You have more time for yourself.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this.
That's fine.
Let's move to Pavit. Pavit, we wanted to know from you, what are the immediate steps we can take once the lockdown opens to save on energy costs, especially focusing on air conditioning?
Yeah, so I think energy costs, they are anywhere between 20 total operating or the total fixed cost of any hotel, because they form a large part. Now the problem is that these fixed costs, those costs remain. That's when they start pinching. So one of the easiest just to have the envelope of the building efficient, which means that the windows, the roof, the walls, they can be made efficient. You can, without even doing major construction or renovation, you can immediately start saving at least 30 to 50% of their air conditioning costs, which would be bulk of the costs of energy. And these measures can be taken over maybe a few, if not less. as soon as you start, maybe within the next 5 to 7 days, whichever areas you feel are consuming the most energy can be reduced significantly, and the hotel can actually start saving money immediately, whether the guests come in or remain. So it will mean that as soon as business picks up, it will immediately start adding to their profit.
So, can you, Pavit, give some specific situations where you have helped hotels save energy, and how? So that, the hoteliers here can relate with it.
So, for example, we recently did an audit for the Shangri-La Hotel not very long back, and we did an audit for them where we had calculated the air conditioning load for few of their areas, which are only about 15 to 20% of the total air conditioning load. What we noticed there was that we were able to reduce their air conditioning load significantly. And as soon as we installed our solution, the temperature inside reduced significantly. So the outside temperature was say about 46, and we reduced this temperature around the facade by about 11.6 degrees. So the temperature inside was 35. Now, this immediately helped them in multiple ways. One was that because the hotel was a lot cooler, so it became a lot more comfortable. So the guests were quite happy with the ambient temperature. The second was that the air conditioning load dropped significantly. So here, if you look at the air conditioning, the air conditioning load dropped. And the biggest part was that as you have increased the air conditioning load, you've started to save energy simultaneously. You actually have a situation where you have not only reduced your costs, you've also made your guests more comfortable. And at the same time, you've also reduced your carbon emission. So you're actually, we in fact have something like Rudolph said, we also have a triple W protocol where it's a win for all the stakeholders. It's a win-win for the guests of the hotel. It's a win-win for those who are operating the hotel, and it's also win-win for the environment because every building has some environmental impact. Immediately by installing this solution, we are actually reducing the environmental impact, and the guests are more comfortable, and also they are saving energy. And this is only a part of the cost that they are saving. In a lot of cases, the hotels spend a lot of amount on renovating and keeping the hotel fresh. Our solutions also make sure that the life of the interiors are extended multiple fold. So these are some of the ways where immediately from maybe just 5 to 7 days of starting the hotel, you can immediately start saving and have not only a more efficient hotel, but also a more comfortable hotel and a greener hotel, which is exactly what our company stands for.
So, in terms of if we talk about India, there are many 5 stars, 4 stars, and standalones. So the number is quite huge, including, I think, the quick service restaurants, because all these things are important from their perspective also, because they have a guest space there, right? So, what do you think from India perspective? How many people are already aware of this product, and how many are still to be educated?
I would say that we've done over maybe about 30 hotels, and
Okay.
with most hotels, what we've noticed is that the engineering team is surprised that this can be actually achieved. So the reason we had introduced audit services were that we actually do a physical audit, give them the numbers, and calibrate and show them that this is actually possible. So what we've noticed is that even so this is for the Shangri-La Hotel. Their engineering team was actually said that they are the first ones that we've heard are offering anything like this, where you're actually going to save money at the end of the day, because they primarily looked at it as an expense that they are going to be installing something to make the hotel cooler. So in their mind, the perception was that it's a cost, whereas
Okay.
our thing was that it's not something that you should do for your guests, but it's something you should do for your balance sheet and also for your environment. So you're,
Right.
like I just said, that you're actually a greener hotel, a more leaner hotel in terms of costs, and it also adds on a lot to guest comfort.
Right. It's very important to look at your P&L eventually, and indirectly you are doing a lot of positives for the society. In terms of saving on energy, of course, also impacts. Suppose it is a lobby. I think it impacts a lot on even the upholstery. because if the white glare is not coming inside, the sunlight is not coming, you're also benefiting on saving your upholstery and keeping it, maintaining it for a longer duration of time, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, 90% of fading of the carpets, floorings, furnishings, the furniture is due to excessive sun heat or sun exposure because of ultraviolet. Our solutions actually take care of 90% of them. You're actually going to be at least extending the life of your interiors by at least 4 times, which means that if you're looking at a sofa maybe fading in say maybe about 12 to 15 months, given that it's exposed to direct sun, especially in the lobby areas, that life would be at least 3 to 4 times.
Right. We would like the participants, in case they have any queries, they can put questions to Pavit Pal.
Certainly, Pavit, I have a question here. I mean, in this entire thing, I see a major reduction in the cost and hotel being greener. On the flip side of the same, do we believe that the building would be deprived of natural light?
No, not at all, sir. We have so this is something that most hotels are very concerned about. And we have solutions. We in fact have a particular range of products. It's called eco residence, or it's a hotel. Nobody really likes a dull house or a dull, because so we have this series of products which are not only allowing 70% of the light, they are at the same time reducing the heat significantly. So we are actually a very good cost effective solutions to double payment for a hotel is a very expensive proposition. They do this to make it energy efficient rather than replacing the windows and renovating the entire hotel. Our solution is very simple, where we can just superimpose our coating on the glass. The visibility will remain as it is, and at the same time you will reduce the energy cost.
That's awesome. Thank you.
In fact, I'll go ahead and share something that we are going to introduce. There are many parts of the building where during some parts there's excessive light and glare and heat, for which customers may complain, or occupants of the hotel may complain, and during the other times they are not. They're actually introducing something known as a gradient film, where product becomes a glare control feature, where it controls the glare during when the sun intensity is high, and once the sun intensity is low, our coating clears up and it becomes just like a clear window.
Great, Pavit. It was quite insightful. So we'll move on to the next question, which is, I think, the most important in terms of also, for the F&B part, and that's a kitchen. Because kitchen also consumes a lot of energy. And that is something which is all part is also on, because a hotel or a restaurant actually sustains on it good food, the equipments which are related to it. So I think none other than Mr. Vivek Suri, he can really throw wonderful light on all this.
Vikas Suri.
Mr. Suri, sorry about this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Can you please throw light on this and take the participants forward?
Yes, as I said, there are a lot of kitchens today which are available, which are green in nature. So starting with basic cooking, a lot of these large cooking batteries are nowadays being replaced with slightly more expensive but better on return on investment with products like combi ovens, which has a faster recovery period, lesser in terms of energy consumption and also water consumption. So they are some of the products where you put in food and it comes out one in a very shorter time and also consumes a very limited amount of energy and water. Now, there have been systems which are available in the world today, which are called smarter kitchens, where actually companies are working and they work in tandem with each other. So what happens is, imagine yourself, cooking a biryani. First of all, it's being cooked absolutely in terms of complex time. The moment you put in a biryani, it basically starts to cook, and the moment the combi oven is about to finish cooking biryani, it sends the signals to the cloud, wherein the pre-chiller actually starts up minutes before, so that it's ready to receive that biryani. So these are the kind of kitchen equipment which are available, which consumes lesser energy. Then you have things like dishwashers, which are using very, very less water nowadays compared to what you used to get about a couple of years ago. I mean, to give you an example today, that a typical dishwasher earlier used to consume about 6 to 7 liters of water every cycle. Now it's using about 2.5 to 3 liters max. So these are the kind of consumption patterns you have in kitchen equipments which are lesser and dearer to use in your kitchen.
Lovely.
There you are.
So, Mr. Suri, are there any new products which you feel can be adopted by the F&B and the chefs in their respective spaces? Especially after the COVID-19, are there any new inventions which are on the way, or something which has already been being talked about right now?
So a lot of things, I mean, if you look at it post COVID, I think what's going to happen is there are things like people would want bookings through their apps. So this is what people are looking at, and there are a lot of companies who are already working on this. Then once you enter, people are looking at probably QR scanner code ordering systems. So there again, there are a lot of Indian companies also who are working towards it. So once the things are ordered, people are expecting better, cleaner, hygienic kitchen equipment where contact to the food is lesser. There, the combi ovens kick in. And when it comes to the end, people are looking at billings on their mobile phones so that they can be paid through Paytms and processes like this. On the home front side, I'm sure people would be looking at DIY kits. If anybody wants to eat a pani puri or something like this, though companies like Haldiram and Bikanerwala are already doing it, but they are looking at more DIY solution kits where everything comes in a probably container. You peel it, you cook it, and you just eat it. So that's the kind of systems people are looking at nowadays post COVID. That's what I would
sure. The digital ecosystem is going to be more activated now in times to come.
Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah. But sir, these are more pertaining to, I would say, the restaurants, in the delivery formats. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, if there are 5 stars, they're still to get into that format, and I think that may not work for them, because hotel food is more like, experiential food. Even though Hyatt started just soon after the COVID, but then it could not really be taken forward because of the norms of the of not allowing the delivery to reach on time or whatever. Right. But then I think it's more of experiential, which you will agree. So right. From a hotel perspective, sir, what is your advice for the industry? What should be the transformation in the kitchens from a perspective of chef, an executive chef, and the team, and the F&B? What should they immediately take on right now? Because that's very, very important for them to save on energy and things like that.
So that's what I'm saying. Actually, people are looking at contactless cookings, and when you talk about contactless cookings, the best and the smartest thing which actually comes to everybody's mind is combi ovens, because you don't require traditional cooking equipment to cook food. You don't require those kadais. You don't require those cooking batteries. You require a similar a kind of a cabinet where you open a door, you put your food stuff inside, and it starts to cook basis whatever is the cooking program you're putting in, and it cooks food in a couple of minutes. So these are the kind of equipment which will take on from here on, and that's what people will look for, and that's how the industry is going to change. No more people are going to use stuff like coals, gas, because it still involves a lot of contacts when it comes to cooking.
Absolutely.
But combi oven is something where people will really look forward to, because here you're not touching food at all. It goes into a pan, goes into a combi oven. You put your program, it cooks in a few minutes, you open the cabinet, and the food is ready to deliver. That's what it is. So that is what will be the biggest change people would look for.
We request the participants.
Yeah, Mr. Suri, this is certainly a great insight. I have a question here that, considering this COVID situation, definitely when F&B industry comes back to the normal, one impact it would carry is about the hygiene and sanitation. So what modifications can we do in our equipment that would really impose the hygiene and sanitation measures on our ground level staffing?
So, I mean, to tell you very honestly, I've been working on a few projects. However, once this thing started, the perspective of people have changed absolutely. To tell you a simple thing, I was looking at doing a South Indian QSR where the person or investor was looking at doing a normal dosa patti to do dosas. However, he's now looking at one, a see-through kitchen. Two, he's changing from that dosa patti to a more like a crepe machine where it looks neater, much easier to handle, and he's opening the kitchen to the world. He's specifically now put in dishwashers to tell people that this kitchen is more hygienic in terms of food where it's being cooked. So these are the kind of changes people are looking at. And this guy, kitchen equipment, he's taken a step back and he's changed the entire kitchen now.
Great.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Any participant ask any questions? Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Karishma on this side. So, sir, you are telling about these the change in the cooking system. So, what will be the impact on the nutrition part of this type of cooking? What?
Yeah, sorry, Krishna. The food is going to be more nutritious, more healthy, more good looking, and more appealing. So, in end result is that it's going to be consumed probably much more because it looks much more nicer than the conventional cooking.
I have a question for Mr. Suri.
Yeah.
My name is Mohit Sharma. I have a question for you, sir. What packaging equipment and packaging technology you see post-COVID, because you stress a lot upon delivery solutions. So the packaging industry also have to improvise on these solutions and how we can make it more efficient and how a delivery of those can be contactless or can be sanitized.
So, Mohit, if you look at some of our most conventional people who have been doing food from many years, names like Bikanerwala and Haldiram, these guys have changed to much smarter packaging systems. So these are the kind of packaging systems which are already there and existing. It's a matter of other people now to look at it and start using them. Now, if you look at their packaging system, they are pretty hygienic in terms of delivery systems because they're nicely packed. They don't touch the food with hand. So these are nicer things. And I think from here on, people will move on to such kind of containers and also containers which are easily biodegradable. So there are companies now who are getting into such packaging systems which can be biodegraded in about 60 to 90 days max.
That's more important because biodegradable is a way to go.
Absolutely. It's more environment friendly.
Because in the past, I mean, there were a lot of reports from Vietnam and all that they were coming up with bamboo related stuff. Because even in the hotels, people take away their food, they carry it in case they are not able to consume in the coffee shop. And likewise, the food has to be packed. So those solutions have to be with both standalones and delivery, and I would say the 5 stars as well, because that's the way to go. And I think the development on the bamboo part, delivery solutions is still too mature.
I agree.
So the plastic has to be replaced. So
there are corn-based items which are available. They are slightly more expensive to begin with, but they're more environment friendly. So these are, they look like plastic containers, but they're corn-based. And as I said, they're biodegradable. So they can be, consumed anywhere between 60 to 90 days. So they meet with you dump it and they just vanish. That's it.
Okay, right. Any more questions from the participants? Before we go to the next.
Can I say something, please? Rudolf from C34.
Please, Rudolf. Please.
I have worked with the Caviar group of restaurants, which were 7 restaurants throughout South Africa, where I was the executive production chef, where we worked with the sous vide process, which is better known as the precision cooking, where you actually cook the meat and the fish to perfection in water to a certain degree. And then also you can freeze the portions up to 2 years. You can freeze the portions. I mean, we have done functions in the ABSA Stadium in Durban for Top Gear when they came to South Africa, where I have shipped 16,000 portions only for 1 weekend. And that is very simple and safe and green to store and to prepare the food again, which enhances your ticket time as well. then you can send out the main course meal between 10 and 12 minutes.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for the inputs and insights. Let's go to the next question. And I would request Utsav Gupta to please answer this question. Utsav, since you are an architect and you are into the science of creating buildings, from the saving energy part as well. Now, there are two situations right now with the hotels and hospitality overall. So the structures which are already done, one is that, because we all have to save on the cost, the moment the lockdown opens, there has to be some hacks which every hotel, communicates to their teams down the line to save on energy, because the buildings are already done. We can't revamp it. We are not even looking at, any kind of investment to, be heavy on our P&Ls. The point is that whatever we are ready with, what are the hacks which we can adopt? Number one question. Number two is, in future, because the blueprints are already ready for a lot of hotel chains for more hotels, but maybe this year or two, we may not actually take it up. But then let's talk on future projects as well as the next question. How they have to be sustainability compliant, ready. What are the mistakes which people do, and how it can be looked at from a different angle. Over to itself.
That's a very interesting question. You see, architecture is more of the science of what we can do while we're creating. And therefore, if there's something already created, which is the existing structures, without investment, changing some things is going to be a very strategic course from this point forward. So there's something that we insist while designing is some metering. Now is the time that hotels can pull out the reports and see what's actually going on in which zone. And they can decipher all the energy consumption patterns based on each of the properties, that are happening in their properties. But if we generalize the overall impact about where the energy is going and where during the COVID time, how can you slash down the cost and things like that. 55%, 50 to 55% of that goes into your HVAC. 14% goes on lighting, 5% goes on laundry, 13% goes on hot water. Kitchen takes about 11%, and 6% are for the other activities. So it makes sense to actually attack the HVAC part first. And that's COVID, even post COVID, the occupancy is going to take a hit for a while, and therefore it makes sense to figure out how you can dynamically shut down some areas, what your structure allows, what your AC planning allows, what your electrical planning allows, and how can you identify those areas that can curtail the back-end energy users as well as the front-end energy users to be able to drop the energy consumption for a while. So certain things like can you hear me well?
Dheeraj, please mute everybody because there's a lot of noise, lot of background noises. Dheeraj, please mute everybody.
I'm trying to find that. Yes, sir. You can unmute yourself and you can go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So, what energy pattern allows us in our properties to do? For instance, if there are two chillers placed in your property, and your occupancy pattern shows that you can actually switch off one of them, you can actually blockade some area out so that energy over there can be curtailed, and that is the instant way to cut down your electricity bill. Also, you can increase your blow down cycles. That will also help you reduce. You can you can replace the water at the chiller system for a while, and that will help us curtail the water consumption. There are a couple of things that one can do while doing the energy. The common areas you can usually the hotels operate on 22 degrees Celsius. You can increase the temperature to 25 degrees Celsius in some of the areas. That instantly makes an impact on how much energy is being curtailed in the HVAC part. But one of the most important things I have found out in my site is identify those areas which have the leakages from the AC. So, by either because the door is opening constantly or the occupancy is less, or even the heat gain zone are create around that area. For example, if you have a high-rise hotel and one of the facades is facing towards the west, well, try and curtain that area. Try and remove those rooms or those areas from the occupancy until you can switch back to the maximum occupancy required in the hotel. That will help you save up to 30% of the HVAC cost that you currently incur. So these are some of the tricks that you can do in the current scenario while just post opening after the COVID situation goes off. Until your occupancy reaches to the regular levels. These are some of the tricks you can use on the HVAC part of the thing. The other areas that consume energy are of course the kitchen, the appliances, the washing, the laundries, and somewhere I think the smart scheduling can help you overcome the energy consumption, especially if you have a peak load system within your property. So a lot of municipal governments, they charge extra if you go beyond a certain cap of kilowatts. And you can stagger these activities to keep yourself below peak hour consumption. That's more of an operational scheduling. And that will intensely help you to create an impact on what bills do you pay for the energy consumption. So I think in a high level, I would advise these strategies. If you can apply them, you're going to save a lot of money post-COVID operations happen. Currently.
Any questions from the participants on this sharing? Please go ahead.
That means that laundry now normally operates in say 9 and 6. So maybe the night also will be deployed in the night. Does that imply that?
Sorry, sir, I can't hear you. Can you repeat your question?
Now see, things like laundry. Now these departments traditionally operate only during the day. You feel that now the timings of such departments will have to be varied. Maybe they operate late evening or in the night.
Yeah. So your facility manager will tell you the peak hours happening, where the peak hour hybrid, and how much is the energy cap going above the peak hour limit. Then you have to structurally see what activities you can stagger from that. Laundry can be one of them. Dishwashing can be another one of them. Maybe some maintenance, cleanings, and other things like that can be other activities. But how much do you want to curtail, and what activities can you curtail? First there has to be a quick analysis. Since they are looking at a zero investment, there has to be a quick analysis of your energy consumption patterns to know how much actually going above the peak hours. Peak hours, they charge about 30% over and above the regular tariff. So just by staggering these activities, you can instantly drop down by 30% of energy costs. So it's worth doing that.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Sir, this is Arjun from the Deep Park, Mumbai. So basically, now it will be a worth after post COVID when we open the hotel. To give our like laundry service or maybe kitchen stewarding service outsource, or we should do it in house only, because again that is affecting our maybe the cost part is there, but then again the surety of the cleanliness and everything that goes haywire.
Yeah, so this is more of a business question. You got to see your cost structure. You got to see the values of your customer. Are they feeling more safe if you outsource, or are they feeling more safe if you do it in house? Of course, you have to also see the investment, and see how it plugs into your overall scenario of the financial model. I think that will drive this answer.
Yes, thanks.
Can I just add something to that question, please? May I go ahead, Mr. Gupta?
I do.
If I just want to say something is, I mean, when the corona period is over and the lockdown is completed, things aren't going to go back to the way it was immediately, or even within 6 to 12 months. So better by accepting the methods, the COVID-19 and lockdown period has forced upon the hospitality industry and on the laundry type I would suggest to rather do it yourself, because occupancy is not going to go up above, say, 25% if we are lucky in the hospitality in the beginning, in the rooms. So rather do it self in the hotel, and that will save you cost as well as contamination for the COVID-19 that is still in the global atmosphere. So it will also include less people who come and fetch the laundry from the hotel, take it to where it gets cleaned, ironed, and then to bring it back. So I would suggest rather do it yourselves in your property. That won't be as expensive as we all are used to as it was in the past, because clearly with an 80 to 100% occupancy, no hotel can do it for cheaper than an outsourced company. And then also you can look at different products and solutions to use that will save you cost and is 100% green, like IQ Green Solutions, where you can scrub pots, pans, you can clean the rooms, toilets, you can even put it in dentist filters and clean their filters as well. It's IQ Green Solutions. It's from Russia. It's 100% green. That's from my side. I would suggest to do it in-house, that it won't be as expensive and won't contaminate so many people involved. Thank you.
Thanks, Rudolph. I think
Thank you, sir.
what you're basically highlighting is that we have to accept that even the post-COVID, the occupancy is not going to be the same as before. And not just laundry. I would extend this phenomena to for every department of the hotel industry to figure out how you can dynamically downsize. Whether it's from a facility point of view or from a cleaning point of view, which parts you can step down, which part you can stagger, which parts can you stagger in a way where the equipment where used to have three equipments and now you can only use two and save energy. The dynamic planning is what is basically I'm essentially pointing out towards. Extending into all facets of the business. And currently, earlier you asked me to see in the new perspective. I guess the creation of the resilience and the flexibility within the new infrastructure.
Please go ahead. Yes, please.
Just like that, planning to earthquake design. I think now this pandemic has really created a situation where one must look at the industry as a whole and understanding that into the design process, where it allows us to dynamically shift gears when the things happen in the future.
So, in terms of future planning, because obviously this is still to be seen, because right now the hotels will be just trying to work their ways, post the crisis and try to survive, I would say, for some time before they even think of adding any other property in their kitty. But then, you if you can share some, insights on that part, that when we do the future planning, what is the right way to do? Because normally we just hire an architect, we get the drawings done, and then we hire an interior designer to implement it. So, but then what is the right way forward? If you can just share in a minute, please.
So I believe while in the future the planning will be more integrated with the business case, and the business case itself has to accommodate this provision about this kind of a risk coming in. When that gets translated, when that risk factor is being translated and transferred to the architectural planning, the immediate difference between what is being planned currently and what is being planned in the future is about the smart planning of the services itself, where it will allow the hotels to flexibly step up and step down based on the impending scenarios that will happen in the future. Plus, it will also have a major impact on how we treat the health and safety within the hotel. We have to sort of borrow some nuggets from the hospital industry. We have to sort of look at the filters that we are using. We got to look at the air circulation that we are using. We got to see the impact of within the hotel itself. So, borrowing these nuggets from the other industries is also going to be greatly impactful to create more resilient hotel industry infrastructure in the future.
Sure.
Use of technology is going to be impending. Use of how we can order food, how we can order with a minimized physical presence, with a minimized all and the areas of the outspread of the virus of any kind of epidemic in the future. So One of the biggest way that initially that is going to happen as a difference is that initially these all departments they work separately. The business case guys, the facility manager, the architects, the service planning, the interior guys. Now they have to all work in a very very congregate manner. They have to work together in a way where they exchange more notes and they exchange more scenarios. So the what comes out is more efficient. It's more resilient.
It's very nice, input that all the departments have to sit together for brainstorming to get an end product which is good for saving purpose from every department perspective, and hence it impacts the overall P&L, right? Because right now what is happening is only the project team works with the owners and the general managers in a room, and they design on the blueprint for the future properties. But I think that is a way to go. We